You guys excited for the big fight this weekend? I assume there's a fight this weekend. There's a fight every weekend. And it's always a big fight. Oh, big fight, big fight. I always have one friend that's super into it. Dude, you better be ready for this big fight. It's going to be insane. You better be ready. And I'm like, I'm not involved, am I? I didn't really prepare. And I'm not judging. I'm American. I love violence, you know? I like to think I don't, but when I drive by a car accident, if I don't see something, I'm a little sad. Damn ambulance was in the way. And I appreciate the unapologetic nature of the UFC, you know, surrounding violence. Most sports, they're trying to make it safer for their athletes with rules and equipment, but UFC's like, you know, should we let them use knives? Let's give them knives. UFC fighters, mixed martial arts. I didn't know the arts community was that big. They definitely forced their way in. You know, someone's like, I'm Betty, and I work in watercolors, and I'm introducing a new artist. His name is Vladimir the Destroyer. What medium do you work in? I choke people out. Oh, welcome. I'm interested to see your art. If you've never been to a UFC fight, you have to go. It's strangely theatrical the way they enter the arena, the fighters. There's lights, there's music, there's costumes. It's like an episode of RuPaul's Drag Race. And then someone rings a bell and they just start hitting each other like they're on a Southwest flight. And no one stops them. And there's kids there. It's got to be confusing for children. We're always telling children, fighting solves nothing, unless you're really good at it. Then it's a good career. They pummel each other for round upon round, and then they just stop. They embrace, and they treat each other with respect. And I think we could learn something from that. I'd like to bring that to my marriage. You know, after an argument, we embrace and give each other compliments like, you were so vicious. I mean, some of what you said, I'll never get over that. Often, I don't even know when our fights are over. You know, like sometimes it'll be the next day and I'll think, oh, you're still mad. I thought, oh, I didn't know this was a multi-day event. Yeah. Because there's always a rematch when you're married. Right? It's just never scheduled. But tumors are often compared to fruit. A pear, a lemon, a grapefruit. Interesting fact, worst tumor, grapefruit. Worst fruit, grapefruit. When you think about it, a grapefruit looks more like a tumor than a fruit. I almost feel sorry for grapefruit. Yeah, we can't win, yeah? We're already the worst fruit, now we're compared to the worst tumor? Well, at least we help old people poop. That is the worst impression of a grapefruit ever. It's kind of unfortunate that there's another fruit that's much smaller named grape. Because you know there's situations in doctors' offices, we found a tumor, it's the size of a grape. Thank God. I didn't finish. Grapefruit. Oh, that's very different. A little rainy out there, but it's nice. That's the temperature it's supposed to be. Remember when weather wasn't frightening? Because now if it's unseasonably warm or unseasonably cold, we all give each other a look like, this means we're all gonna die. There's a flood coming. But admit it, when you left your house, you used to think, do I need a coat? Now you're like, should I buy a boat? I don't know much about global warming, but I do know they stopped debating it. 5 years ago, there was always a guy on TV like, there's no proof the earth is warming. And now that same guy's like, well, what are you gonna do? Wait, what? The people that live on the coastline should sell their homes. To who? We'll figure it out later on. Something's happening. In 20 years, what are we going to tell our children and grandchildren? Because they're going to ask us, they're going to come to us, they're going to be like, did you know about global warming? And we're going to be like, I heard about it. It was more of a rumor back then, really. Did you protest like that Greta lady? Kinda. Yeah, there was a pandemic. We didn't really do groups. I brought my own cup to Starbucks. The pandemic did make me contemplate my mortality. I just know when I go, I want it over quick. Like if I'm in a plane crash, I want the plane to explode midair. I was reading about this one plane crash. This plane was flying at 30,000 feet, and then it started to nosedive. The plane nosedived for 3 minutes. 3 minutes! Brutal! That's a long time. You know, for the first minute, everyone on that plane was like, ah! But eventually, after like 60 seconds, they were like, ah! Does anyone have any water? I didn't really pace out my dying scream. 3 minutes, that's a long time. You know, someone on that plane rang the flight attendant button. Ding! Do you know how long till we crash? Does this mean I can get a free drink? That's long enough for passengers to get on each other's nerves. When you scream, can you not grab my armrest? Look, I'll kill you before we even crash. Maybe the pilot came over the intercom. Hey, everyone, it's your captain here. Just wanted to thank you for choosing to fly with us. Special shout out to our silver medallion members. You would have earned 2,000 miles on today's flight, but it looks like we're not going to quite reach 700. Our flight attendant, Betty's been with the airline for 31 years, and it appears today is her last day. You can go ahead and take your phone off of airplane mode. Heck, I've taken the plane off of airplane mode. At this point, we're just a metal box hurling towards the earth. We should have you back on the ground in about 7 seconds. Is that too dark? It's gonna get worse. But I think husbands have had a fear of their wives throughout history. I bet you Genghis Khan, the most vicious warlord to walk the earth, I bet you he was a little afraid of his wife. Genghis Khan probably had buddies over and he was bragging about some conquest and he's like, and then I just stabbed this king and I was watching him bleed out. Did you hear my wife? Oh, hey, honey, how you doing? Well, we've been too loud, we can keep it down. And I'm sure his wife was perfectly normal, perfectly calm. She's like, no, you're fine, Genghis. I was just wondering, are you planning to invade a village later? And he's like, I was thinking about it, but I don't need to if you don't want me to. She's like, no, but if you do, if you could pick up some butter, that would be great. And that's not to say that he wasn't assertive in how he communicated. You know, there was probably times when he's like, honey, I'm happy to run these errands, but I just feel like sometimes you forget that I'm the great Genghis Khan, the greatest warrior to walk the earth. And she's like, you know, out there you might be a world conqueror, but at home you're just a dad who travels too much. Because Genghis Khan was a dad, many times over. 6% of the entire Asian population alive today can trace their ancestry back to Genghis Khan. He was busy. Now, I don't know what his wife knew. I don't know if she ever asked, like, Genghis, after you invade those villages, what do you and your army do? And she's like, well, after? Golf. There must have been a moment where Genghis Khan and his wife walked into a village and the wife was like, Genghis, do you realize all the children in this village? They look like you. And Genghis was like, what, because they're Asian? I mean, do you hear yourself, honey? You sound kind of racist. I'm just saying, you know. If I were you, I wouldn't bring that up. No, I don't know if any of that happened, but it is a historical fact that Genghis Khan had a wife. Genghis Khan was married to Shaka Khan. Shaka Khan. Talk about a power couple. appetite suppression wasn't even the intended use. The drug was created to help people with diabetes or something stupid. But once it got out that there was a diabetes medicine that made people not crave donuts, every fat person was like, I just got diabetes. Oh, wow, my diabetes is kicking in. It's not the first drug with a beneficial side effect, right? We know about Viagra, the contraceptive pill cures acne, and of course, alcohol makes people attractive. But it must be frustrating for these scientists that develop these life-changing drugs, and we fixate on a side effect. Like the people that created Viagra, they were probably so excited at that press conference. They're like, well, after decades of hard work, my team and I have developed this pill which will save the lives of men suffering from high blood pressure. Now, there are some minor side effects. Nausea, dizziness, you get a huge boner. But most importantly, this is a life-saving blood pressure medicine. Any questions?
Yeah, the boner part? How long does the boner last?
Well, that's not really important, but 4 hours.
Jesus Christ!
If we could focus on the fact that this is a life-saving blood pressure medicine.
I got a blood pressure question. Say I had high blood pressure and I was going on a date to, let's say, an orgy. When would be the optimal time to take your blood pressure medicine?
I'm sure there's some men in the audience who take Viagra, and by some I mean every guy over the age of 40. And by the way, if you do take Viagra, you shouldn't be embarrassed. Doesn't mean you're not a man. It just means the body part that defines you as a man doesn't work. You're like a eunuch and they're manly. Now, there are some men over the age of 40 who don't take Viagra, and they're called celibate. But heck, I've taken Viagra. You know, just for the high blood pressure. And the articles